Hello and welcome to Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast where we talk about books and whether or not people shit in them, and how they shit in them, and how much they shit in them, and if they get murdered whilst they shit. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Hannah, and we're two 30-somethings combining hopefully intelligent literary criticism with drunken chaos.
We're currently reading The Hunger Games, and in this episode, we're reading chapters 12 to 13.
So grab a drink, crack open your book, and read along with us.
Hello.
Hello. You
Hello.
haven't put a guest under a blanket this time.
I thought that's a Goblet of Wine thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Disguising guests in blankets is only for the Goblet.
Yeah.
I have agency this time.
Yes. This is Nayana.
Hello, and if you're a fan of Goblet of Wine, maybe you will see me again or have
I've
seen me before.
I don't trust our knowledge of our own upload schedule.
Yes, and if you are a fan of Goblet of Wine, ignore me repeating this joke. You may be confused thinking, hey, didn't you guys last episode have a South Asian woman whose name begins with N and has a PhD, and now you have another? Yes, we collect them.
And if you are a fan of Goblet of Wine, you're like, Hannah, you're like, Charlie, sorry.
Wow.
Maybe there should be
you've lost your podcast
Do you
card.
think maybe there should be a Hannah Charlie? You know how there's like a sort of...
No, because you're the only one that's done that.
Yeah.
Most
Get
people
out.
know us apart.
Most people, yeah. I just can't tell white people apart. They all look the same to me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's-
exactly.
yeah.
But you might be like, Charlie getting you jokes, but you also might be like, can I be the next brown person on this podcast? And maybe
Yeah.
you can if your
And
name begins
you have
with
to go
N.
through an audition process.
Which is a PhD.
Yeah.
And also having a name that begins with N.
Yeah.
But if you fit both those criteria, email us and we might make you one of our shortlist.
Yes.
You will need to
we
bring
need
a passport.
third backup.
Yeah, you
you
will
know?
need to do a right to work check, but it's
Yeah.
worth it.
So you're here. Hi.
Hi.
Do you like the Hunger Games?
I love the Hunger Games, and my feelings about it are way less complicated than they are about Harry Potter. I love the Hunger Games. I feel like in the last few years, I've also recently undergone like a Hunger Games renaissance, where I watch the Hunger Games a lot. I reread them. Last year when I was finishing my PhD, and I couldn't get
Sorry,
to
do you have a PhD? That's crazy. I can't believe you haven't mentioned that and we've never mentioned that.
Oh no.
She's got a pretty huge dick.
Yeah.
I do, and I keep mentioning it. I'm actually a big deal. It might not
In
be.
the
In the
I-
phallus
Society.
Palace community, as it's
Yeah.
known, as it's usually known.
Yeah. Its formal name.
Yeah. Last year, I was finishing my PhD and I couldn't sleep because I was just writing all the time, all day long, and I just like was too overwhelmed to sleep. So I would read The Hunger Games a lot, and I basically just like leaned on them so much, where I reread them, all of them, and then I watched the films, and then I also read this massive piece of Hunger Games fan fiction, which I've like never really done before, and it was, yeah, I mean, it really got me through it. But also I started reading them when I was a teenager, and I loved them, and I think they're incredible books, and I think about them a lot, and I often think about, if I were in the Hunger Games, what would I do? Or if
Die.
my friends
I'd
were in the Hunger
simply
Games,
die.
what would I do? Yeah, I would not only just die, I would kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the amount of fucking Peter fan cams this woman sends me, like, I think I could have had her sectioned by now.
Do
if I
you
wanted
think you've
to.
seen a clip that was recorded of Peter in some fashion or another?
So yes, 100% I do believe that. But I also want to say they're not just Peter fan cams. Basically, every time I go on TikTok, there is not a single time I've been on TikTok in the last 3 years where this hasn't happened, where I go on and I will see a clip of a Hunger Games fan cam to a Taylor Swift song. And every time it surprises me. And I really want to talk about which Taylor Swift song, to me, is the most Hunger Games, but also is the most this chapter. Hunger Games in general, I fucking believe Taylor wrote The Great War about Peter and Katniss. There's no, like, you can't change your mind on this.
That's okay, because I truly believe that Haunted was written about the moment that Ron leaves the tent in Deathly Hallows, and I truly believe that song is like fan fiction about that. So
No, but, like,
I'm fine with your theory.
The Great War is genuinely, like, it is Peter Katniss. It, like, yeah, absolutely. And we'll talk about these specific chapters as well. And what songs they
I love
are.
how you're like, and we will talk about it.
We will talk about
And
it.
the reason why
but
you've come on is to hold us hostage to talk
Yeah.
about your feelings.
we will talk about it, but also I'm right. So don't like, you know, don't query me too much.
Okay, great. How are you both?
I'm full of pizza.
Yeah, I'm quite drunk, actually.
We're a bad influence on her. She had to do so many shots in the Goblet of Wine episode that we recorded earlier because she would not stop confusing Dumbledore and Voldemort.
I know, and now I can't keep
It was a real issue of your own making.
I know. I used to listen to these, I used to listen to both the Hunger Games one and Harry Potter and be like, there are just two people doing a podcast, like, whatever. But, like, now I'm like, no, they're drunk doing it. And now I'm like, oh my God, you're drunk doing it.
I feel like everyone should be forced to fake record get drunk and then attempt a podcast.
Yeah, without making... And the thing is, the more you drink, the more mistakes you're going to make. So you ended up in a bit of a cycle at the end of last episode.
Exactly.
And we did not let you out of the cycle. We were like, yeah, take the shot.
I actually don't remember most things I said. Like,
I wouldn't recommend listening back.
I think listening to that episode is going to be such a surprise to me, as well as maybe to you, the listeners, if you listen to it. But, like, honestly, this episode now, I can already feel that I won't remember what I'm going to say. And that's what a great opening to an episode.
Maybe we should ask her some really embarrassing secrets.
Or maybe you should ask at the end, do you remember what you said about this? Do you remember what you said about... And I'll just be like...
Or embarrassing secrets.
Yeah. Like my boyfriend being AI, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Thanks both for asking.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Hannah. How are you?
No, I'm great, actually. I feel really loved right now by both of you and really supported.
Full of pizza, drunk. Full of pizza and drunk?
I don't feel
Is that
drunk.
how you
How
feel?
dare you make that accusation at me? Yeah, no, I'm fine. I actually don't have many feelings. I'm kind of from dead inside like a robot. Anyway,
Like ChatGPT. I am used to that.
What are we all currently reading?
Guess can go first.
Okay, so currently I'm reading a book called Help Wanted by Adele Waldman, which is about a bunch of people who work in like an Amazon warehouse. It's not Amazon, but it's like clearly Amazon, like a warehouse. And they're all competing to be the new group manager. And it's really funny, and recently I've really enjoyed fun American fiction. I recently read a book called Hijab Butch Blues, which is a memoir of a woman who is a queer woman who wears a hijab, who's South Asian. And it's just like a really brilliant memoir, and I've never read a book which like each chapter kind of is about a different kind of experience. Because she's very religious, and she's also very queer and like wears a hijab, and she kind of feels like those things cancel each other out. But I think it's a really, really brilliant book, and I think her writing is so bare and clear, and I think that each section is about a different kind of excerpt from the Quran, and I've never really thought about Islam in that way. I found it incredibly unique and brilliant and would highly recommend. What about you, Charlie?
I don't want to answer now. I, as of literally this morning, have just started reading My Lady Jane, which I watched the TV show. Absolutely love it. I think it's one of like the best.
Wasn't it cancelled?
Yes.
As in not like, as in...
No, exactly. Yeah, because I was going to say that. I think it's one of the best
TV
TV shows
really
that
good.
has been made recently, one of the best and most original. So naturally they cancelled it because they cancel everything good that they make nowadays. But I really heard that the book isn't anywhere near as good. So naturally I wanted to read it.
It's naturally on your journey to avoid everything that's actually on your TBR this year, you decided to read that.
No, that was on my TBR.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, thank you. And to be fair, no, pretty much everything I've read has been on my TBR.
Oh, okay.
It's just the bad stuff.
Where are they?
I'm just not reading the good stuff that I really want to read. No, but because I want to see for myself, and also because I enjoy the show so much, I want more of it, and it's been cancelled, and it's just the kind of thing that I like. So basically it's a fantasy retelling of Lady Jane Grey, go figure, who basically, for anyone like not well versed in like British history and the monarchy, she was queen for I think 9 days, and she didn't want to be queen. There was basically a huge plot after one of the Edwards, I can't remember which number, died, and other people plotted to make her queen. She was actually his cousin, and she was queen for approximately 9 days before Mary. So it's like a fantasy retelling of that, basically kind of like a feminist reclaiming of her story, but putting like a fantasy spin on it, which I'm just like, that. How can that be bad?
What's the fantastical
what's the
element?
fantasy?
So there's like a load of lore about like there's some people that have the ability to transform into animals.
Yes, I think I knew the
Yes. And then like the people that can transform have been like repressed for years until Henry VIII transformed into a lion one day, so then he changed this makes it sound really bad.
No,
it's cool.
Yeah, so then
when I asked what the fantasy element was, I really wasn't expecting
Yeah.
that answer.
so then he made it legal for you to be able to be one of these people. However, like, the church is obviously really against it. So that's why, that's then basically in the narrative given, and this isn't really spoilers because I'm literally like a few chapters into it. I started it this morning. So that's the reason that they, in the book, plot to make her queen, because Mary is like anti these people that can transform, and at the same time I think it's going to be a bit of a romance, because basically they betroth her, because they're like, the way to make her queen is to be like, oh, she's going to have male offspring. So they betroth her to a guy who spends all day as a horse because he can't control his powers. This makes it sound so bad, and potentially the book is going to be awful. The show was fucking incredible, and I will say so far I'm enjoying the book, but I'm not far in. So, I mean, probably by the next time we record, you guys will find out whether it was shit or not.
Great.
Hannah, what are you
reading?
What are you reading? And does anyone transform into a horse?
No, but weirdly, I'm going to talk about people transforming into animals.
Great.
Ooh.
So I am not currently reading any fiction because this morning I finished Lessons by Ian McEwan, which I talked about in the last episode we recorded. Can't remember the order of the episodes coming out in. So I'm going to talk about a book I finished in April, but it doesn't publish till the end of June, which, as far as my calculations, is after you are listening to this episode, so it's more easy to talk about. It is called The Hounding by Genevieve Purvis.
She's having a stroke.
Cool name.
Cool name.
Cool name. Love easy to pronounce names for white people.
I don't actually know if you are to pronounce it with a Z at the front, whether it's an X at the beginning. I haven't actually gone and checked that.
Zenebi is a cool name.
Genevieve Purvis by Genevieve Purvis. It is a story set in the early 1700s, the turn of the century between the 1600s and the 1700s, about 5 sisters who live in a rural Oxfordshire village who begin, according to the villagers, to turn into a pack of feral dogs. You never see the point of view of the girls. The entire book is built around the narrative of the villagers. And it is very reminiscent to the point where I think she says one of her main inspirations was The Crucible.
I was just going to say The Crucible.
The Crucible. This
/ Night Bitch.
I haven't actually read Night Bitch.
No, that's what I was talking about when you mentioned this to me before, and I said there's a film that's just come out with like
Amy.
the
and it's based on
same
Night, but not set in the 1600s.
No,
1700s.
but it's also a book, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah.
not
No, I've heard of the book. Yes. So it's this very mass hysteria in a Christian, very small English village during this time where there was like obviously like no form of education. These are working people working the fields in this village, and it's about this mass hysteria around these 5 girls without ever hearing the girls' story themselves. You only see them from the people around them. It's very lyrical to the point where it's almost like poetic. It's very, very literary. It's short. It's only about 250 pages. So I read it in 3 days.
Wow.
And it was just like this beautiful journey into this like 1600s weird world with this like incredible prose, and then coming back out of it just like, whoa, what was that?
That sounds amazing.
And I loved it. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And it obviously, based on what I've just said, examines femininity, especially teenage femininity and hysteria around femininity, and girls coming into their sexuality and things like that, and misogyny, and the way that obviously structures at the time were completely rooted in the male was the head of the household and knew everything. And oh my god, it was just very, very good.
Very weird that we're both reading books about transforming into animals.
Yeah.
I'm not. But
You should be.
Well, you should be.
But on the note of The Crucible, the Globe is opening a new production of The Crucible this month, and I'm going to see it on the 4th of June because my boyfriend's family friend is actually in it. So I'm looking forward to it because the Globe doesn't often do productions that aren't Shakespeare, basically.
No. I went to see the production they did, not the Globe, another theatre in London did last year with the girl that was in House of the Dragon.
Yes, Millie Alcock. Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah.
What are we drinking?
What are we drinking?
Okay, so today we're having a whiskey sours for no reason other than that, I like them. And also when Charlie was like, what do you want to drink?
no,
I was
I've
like,
lost
Ski
Harry.
sours, and I just kind of panicked and said them. But I do really like them, and I feel
I like how you're like, I panicked and said them. I gave you weeks.
yeah, I know. It's like whiskey sours. But I do really like them, and I also feel like I've appreciated sours a lot more recently than I, did. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted a drink that would be enjoyable for all of us to have. I hope you guys like whiskey sours, though.
I don't think I've ever had one. But
Oh,
also,
really?
this is also weird because in our last episode, we drank amaretto sours.
Oh my god, the stick just went in.
Okay. Yeah, that is a lot of whiskey. Wow.
Oh my god, that's strong. Oh my god.
It is a strong one.
Fuck.
You can really smell the egg. Delicious. But you know what's beautiful? These little stirrers. These are really nice.
That's how much whiskey did you
Yeah.
just...
I think heavy on the whiskey.
Sorry.
No,
No,
you're
no,
fine.
that's
I followed the
perfect.
recipe.
Yeah.
No, you're good. It wasn't quite the strength I was expecting. Yeah, you can.
It just maps so well onto the Hunger Games, where they're currently not drinking anything at all. Like, not even water, actually.
So, we resume from where we left off last episode, which was how fucking strong is this belt?
Yeah.
This belt that we have worked out must be ridiculously huge is also apparently ridiculously strong because it's fully just holding her up.
No, what you're forgetting is Katniss is teeny tiny.
Oh my
She's
god.
so
Just
small.
She's so small.
I did make that myself.
She's so small. Actually, it mentions a lot in this book how small Katniss is.
Yeah,
small.
on like my first reading, obviously I knew she was skinny because she's like being starved.
So
but
skinny.
I completely had like
Yeah.
I hadn't like picked up on all of the references actually to like her being small, like her being petite, her being like light in a way that's like not necessarily like skinny, just her being light and short and petite. And I don't know if it was like having the films like having Jennifer Lawrence kind of like completely overwrite my mental image of Katniss, but yeah, I don't know. I think I'd like missed all of these like Katniss is so small.
I think that's the problem is like Jennifer Lawrence is like this tall woman who's like a perfectly normal weight. And obviously Katniss in the books is like a small, not even a woman, like a girl basically. And a underweight girl who is like significantly like weighs significantly less than she should do at that age. So it's really easy because for me actually Katniss is really well identified by Jennifer Lawrence, and I do often think of Jennifer Lawrence when I think of Katniss. And so when I think of the books and I think how the fuck is that possible, but also I mean I did make a note here. It was like it's possible I just don't understand trees, but I just cannot imagine a scenario where I could do this. Like I know I am also like I am 6 foot tall, so I am. And, I was like 6 foot tall when I was the age of Katniss, so I could never have done this and I would have died immediately. And if I tried to strap myself in with a belt, that tree would have snapped. And I would be dead like in seconds. A really awful thing to see. But like, I definitely could not do this. And I also just don't know what kind of tree could sustain this.
A really large oak belt is like 4 foot long.
Yeah, the belt is like the width of like, when you get your baggage at like the airport, it's like that kind of belt. I just don't know what's going on here. And that was somehow available to Katniss. Like I don't understand. I don't understand.
To me, the thing that stuck out to me that I had completely forgotten about was the over mentions of actual numbers attached to the weight.
Yes.
This isn't something that's, as far as I'm aware, allowed in YA books in this country anymore
Interesting.
for very specific reasons.
Yeah.
And actually, it's really phased out of most books in this country. And the reason why I was thinking about it was because I read Butter recently, which is the Japanese translated book. And it mentions numbers attached to weight very overtly. It is a book about like eating and women's weight, but there are ways to describe that without attaching numbers to it. Because even in my, like, I'm now 30 years old, I am hopefully over a lot of diet culture. I don't know kilos that well, but I was Googling the amount of kilos and being like, oh my God, they're calling this character overweight and she's smaller than me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're Japanese, B, it's a different culture, C, don't do that. But there is a reason that is not done in YA books anymore because it's very dangerous for teenage girls to do. So I was a bit shocked when this book was like, oh, Katniss clearly weighs 10 kilos less. The careers were all 70 kilos. I was like, there is a reason we don't attach numbers to weight anymore in books. And it really, I was like, oh my God, this is in here.
Yeah, I had that point later when she talks about the careers being 50 to 60 pounds. Even the lightest one was 50 to 60 pounds more than me. And I was like, what what the fuck?
Yeah, girl.
Like,
stop
you
it.
would have been the kind of girl that I would have accidentally tripped over at school and been like, I'm so sorry, I just stepped on you. Like, sorry, you were like a tiny year 7 while I'm like a year 12. I don't know, like,
I've kicked you into the gutter with
Yeah.
my feet.
and, like, as a tall person with like big feet and like whatever, I would definitely have like tripped over Katniss at some
Really,
point.
I think the biggest threat to her in the arena is just blowing away.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how she could have
Or like
escaped.
a tall person stepping on accident, being like, I'm so sorry, I think I broke your foot because with my giant feet.
Because I'm just so small. But what's important is Rue is even smaller. Like, we've got small, and then we've got Russian dolls of Rue,
Oh,
then
yeah, yeah.
Katniss. They'll live
I don't know, anyone who's like
then
normal
Thresh.
size comes across and she's like, they were so huge and
They
so
can't
large.
climb a tree.
Their giant feet and hands like stepped on me and moved in a largely across the landscape. She's just, yeah, there is no belt in the world that could keep me strapped to a tree, and there is no tree in the world that could like keep me on it without the branch breaking. Honest.
So Katniss is still very much reeling from the revelation that Peter has seemingly joined the careers. She thinks that him on the roof is like massively fucking hypocritical. Him being like, oh, I just don't want them to change me, and then fucking immediately joining the careers.
Perception for her. She
Honestly,
has no
yeah.
reason to believe that he's doing this to protect her. From
Yeah.
her perspective, he has done the worst thing in the world.
And I'm kind of amazed that, like, I know the audience is like, oh, he was always like obviously playing her, but I sort of don't get how obvious it is to them at this point. Like, I think they must be like, well, what the fuck is going on, basically. But on the other hand, I did think about what Taylor song this plays into.
Of course
I did. And it's got to be Mastermind.
Yeah.
And I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian because I care. That is Peter in this moment, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does at least think that she's not going to have an issue killing him now, which
Yeah.
I'm like, slay queen.
Yeah, absolutely.
She overhears that he's helping them find her. Like, he says something to the careers about like, oh, she would have gone this way, she would have done this. So it's not even like he's just joined the careers. From her perspective, he's literally being like, we'll find her to kill her, like the ultimate evil move. And they kill this young girl, I can't remember from which district.
District 8?
The
Is that
one,
the one?
the stupid one making the campfire. But the cannon never goes off. So Peter is the one to go back and kill her properly. And we don't actually see many instances of Peter killing in the books, but this is an overt mention of one. But what we have to assume
This is Peter's first kill, right?
yeah, but this girl was left for dead, clearly in a lot of pain. So Peter kind of put her out her misery. But how fucking awful is this kind of like induction into the careers to make sure they leave him to like
It's
even
also-
mercy?
I think this is like a story in itself. Sorry, go on. What were
No,
gonna
you
say?
go.
Oh yeah, I think this is like a story in itself of like actually how traumatic this moment must have been for Peter,
Yeah.
who is someone who entered the arena actually never wanting to kill anyone. And even a mercy kill for Peter would be
Yeah.
like, I still feel someone's pulse going between my hands or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, I can imagine he like snapped her neck or something, or like maybe she was dying and he just like spoke to her before she died in the way that Katniss does for Rue.
Yeah.
But that's like the center of Katniss's story, and it's actually never really a thing for Peter.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, even though I would know, like, if it was
Yeah.
a mercy kill, I still don't think I could kill someone.
I know.
Like, I really don't think I could. And
Oh
the
my
fact
gosh.
that he's like even had to volunteer to do it, almost like because he knows it's gonna, well, not fully prove, but help prove that he's like on side. It's not even like they strong armed him into it. Like, the fucking guts you must have to volunteer to do something, let
Yeah.
alone do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, forget
Insane.
like a person. Like, I could not even mercy kill. I couldn't mercy kill like a bird or an animal
No,
or something.
no.
And I know that's like really important when you have like a bird that's dying and you know it's gonna die. But I still couldn't. It's
Yeah.
just that feeling of like,
Actually taking action and doing
yeah,
it.
and like
Yeah.
feeling its life leave it like within your hands. I think is really really difficult. And Peter never wanted to be in the games. Never saw himself as like the winner of the games. And I think this is actually, in this moment we don't see, this is a really significant moment for Peter and a really significant moment for the unnamed person from District 8 ? And we don't know.
We're not.
Because Katniss never bothers to find out.
Well,
I
she
think-
just calls us stupid.
yeah, I think Katniss is genuinely like kind of callous in her own way of like, I'm going to live, or like, I'm going to try my best to not die like this. And so I'm not going to find out who these people are. But there's loads of people whose names she just doesn't know.
I think as well, like growing up watching it, she's definitely desensitized to it. Like, I think at times it's easy to read this and think, wow, she's like so blasé about it. Like, even thinking, well, at least I can kill Peter now. But I definitely think that a lifetime growing up and watching the games must make you so much less sensitive to it. I'm not saying that she's like happy to kill anyone, but I definitely think it's easier for her than it would be for us if we were thrown into this.
Completely.
There's also a really weird dynamic that growing up watching the games gives all the contestants, which is that they are very aware that it's a game. Like, the game would play very differently if all of them had like never watched it, didn't really know it was televised, and were just thrown into the arena, compared to how they behave based on sponsors, the cameras. It adds this like very, because Katniss often plays for the cameras, and we've also seen it in like other instances.
And she does it a lot in this chapter too. It
adds this whole other layer to just the whole survival thing.
Because there's a moment that we have now where Katniss is picturing how she would be appearing on the TV, and she's trying to seem like not too surprised or too confused by Peter's actions. I really, really do love all of the references to Katniss thinking about that. One, because I think it makes it more entertaining. It's a constant reminder that it's televised. But also because I'm vain as fuck. If this was me, I absolutely would be picturing like, oh, how am I coming across right now?
I think it's fascinating because it adds this extra element of like, I don't know, it's just really disturbing actually. That like her instinct, even if she's not really conscious of it, is to think about how this is coming across. Like, she's conscious that audiences love like a bit of humor. Audiences like hate seeing people cry on TV. Like, she wouldn't get any sponsors if she was crying. And I actually think there's something about Peter that is really seemingly quite unaware of those elements of it. And Katniss is really aware of it. But obviously, on some level, Peter is aware of it because he, like Katniss, has grown up watching the Hunger Games. You know, there's no way that he could just be like not. I don't know. I think they pretend that Peter is very, very pure through this whole thing. And obviously he is. But also, he's also a boy who's been raised watching the Hunger Games. Yeah. Whether or not he chooses to accept it, he knows the camera is there. Mm-hmm. He knows that he has to pretend to be a certain kind of person. He knows what the careers represent. He knows that he has to put that girl out of her misery. And I think that Katniss is like, oh my God, he would never know how to do this. Like, no, Katniss, he's like you know, he's a good person, but he's also a boy. He's been raised in this really corrupted, polluted world.
And I actually think he has a better grasp on propaganda and playing things up than she does. And he's a lot more mature in that way. Yeah. So the careers and Peter wander off, and Katniss jumps down from her tree, checks her snares, and she's caught a rabbit, which she eats. However, she still has no water. So the mission for today is find water. She finds some berries that she realizes they are not blueberries, so she does not eat them. This will become important later. She sleeps again, and when she wakes up, she is now dying of thirst. She understands that she is now seriously in dehydration, and she's very frustrated that Haymitch isn't sending any water. She gets very angry at this concept, like, I must have sponsors, I'm doing well, I must have at least a sponsor for a bottle of water. A bottle of water is relatively cheap. Where is the... And she realizes if he's not sending it, she must be able to access it. It must be somewhere.
This is a level of intelligence that I, in my like best, most sharpest mode, could not access. Like, we're just built very different. There is also a moment where it says, what little urine I've been able to pass is a dark brown, my head is aching, and there's a dry patch on my tongue that refuses to moisten. So like, does anyone die while taking a shit in the Hunger Games? Like, what's the whole shit situation?
What do you mean, like someone comes and kills them whilst they're mid shit?
Yeah, like,
well, the cameras like, I would wait out of like politeness, you know? If I came across someone, I'd be like, you can finish.
No, like, imagine you were watching a career and they were taking a shit and you would just like shoot, I don't know, like put a knife in their back. Like, wouldn't that be the most sensible thing to do? And so,
I find the whole Haymitch, like, not, I don't know. He lets it go on so long.
Yes. She's so close to death.
She's like,
imagine if she died.
And it's like, he's like, oh, she must be close to water. But I'm like, it's like a day and a half. It's not like she's like, you know, an hour's walk away from water. Unless she has been the entire time and she's had the world's worst luck.
This is what I found so frustrating, is she doesn't know what direction to walk in. So for all she knows, she is constantly 20 minutes away from water. And I found it overwhelmingly stressful stressful because I was like, but you're just picking a random direction. Why? You're picking the wrong one.
I
Because
know.
also, like, it's kind of annoying that, like, once she finds it over and over and over again. I'm like, was she just having awful luck where the game maker's somehow doing it, like moving the water? I don't know. But yeah, it's kind of like a wild approach to be like, oh, she's near water, yet a day and a half's walk. And then, like, her going to sleep, for me it's how she goes to sleep when she's already experiencing like major symptoms of dehydration, because then it's like it's not even like you're making any progress towards water whilst you sleep. You're just adding 5 more hours worth of dehydration, and then she doesn't even find it until the next evening. Like,
I know,
I find
killer.
it so
It's
stressful.
honestly such a big...
It's so long. It's another day, another lunch, another afternoon before she finds it. I think it's 3 days. I didn't keep track because I was getting a bit confused. But
Like,
I'm
Hamish
sure
is playing it. I also think it must be... Hamish is basically playing this gamble of like, look, you're close enough that actually you can get it. And if I send you water right now, I can... But like it will make you look weak in front, and it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is the thing, and this is why I think ultimately he doesn't do it.
Yes,
he is stockpiling the money, and it shows what a smart mentor he is.
And the fact that he's been through this like 25 times before.
Because like he's not going to send it for a small thing like water. We can assume that water's probably fairly like cheap or whatever.
Yeah.
But then it means that later on there's multiple times throughout this book when she requires medicine, which is way more expensive and has the money for that.
Yeah. And the water thing has a disadvantage of like it makes her look stupid.
Yeah.
If he gets it. But also I think it must be so frustrating being Hamish in this moment.
Yeah.
And like seeing her and being like, you are so close. You are so close. And honestly, he knows he's taken this gamble. She could die, or she could pass out or be killed before she gets to the water, and then he would have taken the chance.
And he's going to spend his life feeling guilty about that when his life is just a long guilt fest.
Exactly.
When she's like walking about severely dehydrated, she does think that she's essentially like ripe for the picking. Like she's so weak, if anyone came across her, she couldn't defend herself. So he is putting her at risk, and she does have this major moment debating whether he's either too drunk or being like intentionally neglectful, and eventually she decides no. But yeah, she has this whole moment debating that. In the end, she ends up having to use a walking stick because she's that weak. I'm like, at this point, I'm like, bro, just send water.
Yeah.
Like, I really think...
Send her a half bottle.
I would have like absolutely caved. She feels like an old piece of leather, and then kill her now.
Really hot.
Yeah.
But for Prim's sake, she's trying to not look too desperate.
I know. And it says that, I think back to the years of watching tributes starve, freeze, bleed and dehydrate to death, and I think fucking hell, like I've actually seen some really awful stuff on TV, and we do forget this about Katniss and Peter, is that they've seen things by this point, even secondhand, that like we have never seen in our entire lives. And like that's just become, you know, people dehydrating or starving to death is the norm. Like the trauma of being stabbed or like disemboweled or whatever is extra surprising and awful, but it's just completely normal that they will have seen people just not have enough water and just keel over and die.
Yes.
Katniss is used to that.
This is where I also feel like the films did. I love that the films added other points of views. In small doses, they didn't overdo it, but I do remember there's this clip of Hamish being like, come on, as he's watching her. And I think that a lot having those other perspectives like Hamish, because it does make you feel like emotionally invested in also Hamish's emotional journey that he's going through.
Because I did have that as a note, like the suspense is killing me and I want Hamish's point of view. Like I would love like an entire chapter of this just like day and a half or however long it is where she's like seriously like life in risk and he's just watching, and like I feel like he can definitely like see a map of all the water spots. I feel like she must be missing them. Like she must literally be somehow weaving through them like by poor luck, and he's probably just like screaming at it like when you're watching a horror film and they like go and investigate the noise and you're like, stop doing it. So she collapses, and as she's collapsed she starts to think about like the mud because she's in mud.
I love
or
mud.
something, and then all of a sudden she's like, wait, mud? Water?
And I probably wouldn't have come to this conclusion. I would have just
Same.
died.
Also, the worst bit in this chapter for me was when she was like, oh, water, I have to put iodine in it first and wait half an hour.
I don't know if you guys have been in that situation where you've had to put iodine in water and wait.
Never.
I have, and like honestly, even with a watch, you're like, is this half an hour? So I genuinely have no idea how Katniss is like, this is 30 minutes. Like, I don't know how they do that.
When she just collapsed, like the reason why she stopped is because she found.
And I also think like when you're that dehydrated, your sense of time must be so skewed. Let alone like then you're having to actually wait 30 minutes for iodine and water.
Mm-hmm. I'm also surprised she doesn't automatically just drink the water, because you have lots of people who like or hit people
I know
who,
she's probably hallucinating.
who are hallucinating and desperate for water so much they drink seawater, and like even though it will make them thirstier and is poisonous, because like your body is just like, the water, give me the water.
And I'm like, this is another reason for her to go for the backpack, because Haymitch didn't want her to. But Haymitch's first advice was to find water. But if she couldn't find like a clean running source of water,
good
she
point.
was gonna need iodine. So she needed a fucking backpack.
Yeah. Sorry to talk about shit again, but again, like if you don't put iodine in the water, like the danger is that you'd probably get diarrhea. And
diarrhea in the Hunger Games is
yeah.
Imagine going out with diarrhea. Like imagine that being the way you die.
There's
seriously,
so many people who get diarrhea in the Hunger Games. Like it genuinely must be like not like as much of a killer as a literal hunger, because it's the Hunger Games, but it must be a thing that happens quite a lot, and it must be both very embarrassing
and terrible TV.
And like, but also like, then you're just like, oh, I'm just shitting all the time. I can't walk because I'm just shit.
Do you know
all
what?
The time.
Like, if I was gonna die, it would be shitting myself.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be that person who's like, actually, you know what? I'd be that person who's like, can I get some lip balm? Can I please send me some hand cream?
To be fair, at one point she puts rabbit grease on her lips, so like I get it. But you are the first person that's the first time I've thought about shitting in the Hunger Games.
Really?
I think
it was the first thing I thought about when I read the books.
I kind of always thought I'd be so scared I just wouldn't.
Like,
can we just say, saying this, Suzanne Collins, we absolutely do not want to know.
Don't add
Please do not.
I don't want to know.
Tweet something about how they poo. We don't want to know.
I think actually shitting in the Hunger Games is like genuinely something. Okay, I've thought about so much how I would want lip balm, want hand cream. I'd probably get hay fever, and I'd probably just be like, can I have like one a day, please? Like Tesco one day, and I would just die of like tree pollen or something, you know? Like I would just start sneezing so much that a courier would hear me and then shoot me while I was shitting, probably.
Yeah.
And I know that you're probably not eating enough to shit, but like if you got diarrhea, that would be so bad. It would be so awful.
What if they're on their period?
No. So I mean, I don't know if you guys talked about this, but the thing you get when they join that, like they enter, is like, you know, Katniss later talks about how she realized that most of the boys didn't get a beard. And I genuinely think that thing they get is like, it's like an implant where they don't have a period basically for like Hunger Games.
Some kind of like hormonal.
Right.
Yeah, I genuinely think this is like a sort of thing in like the Hunger Games fan community where people, you know, essentially to stop the boys from, I don't know, having wet dreams about trees or whatever. We've all been there. And to stop the girls from like having periods, because it would be too much of a, like it would be too unequal, right? It would put the girls at a massive disadvantage.
Weirdly nice from the capital.
It's almost like, I think it's not even nice. I think it's like they don't want to see TV of like girls, you know, having periods and like dropping, like, you know, putting tampons on the ground and like losing that as a
trail.
Yeah, like a Hansel and Gretel tampon trail, basically.
Also, the shame of having to insert a tampon. I've also just had another whilst I was saying that. Okay, pausing to insert a tampon would also put you at massive risk, but also girls are at massive risk of being found and killed whilst peeing compared to boys.
Yeah.
And just like whip it out, pee quickly. Girls have to pull it down, squat. You're at much higher risk of dying. You cannot move away as quickly if your trousers are around your ankles.
Unless they're all pissing themselves. They've all got diapers just like absolutely built into their pants, essentially.
Well, she saw her own dark.
Yeah, because she checked her nappy. She checked her nappy, right? Yeah, that was
that's the thing. How would she know? She was pissing on dirt. How does she know?
It was brown. You could see it in the air that it was dark.
I wonder at what point, I hate to say this, but I wonder at what point she considered drinking her own piss. Like,
could you put iodine in your own piss?
How desperate would she be to be like, I think I might drink my own piss?
There's got to be at least one tribute that does it way too soon. Like 5 minutes into the game, they're drinking their own piss.
Like Bear Grylls tribute, who's just like, I'm just curious. I've always wanted to do this, actually.
One of the careers is like 5 minutes in, like, oh, guys, can I drink one of your guys' piss? And they're like, we literally got all the water at the end. Like, we have loads. And they're like, it's not why I was
You just
sick.
have a... Oh, right. Okay, yeah. No, I feel like... No, I'm not saying I would drink my own piss.
Aren't you?
Maybe
because now
just
you've said you're not saying that.
Now,
I
out of
that is what you're
context,
saying.
I would drink my own piss is in the episode. But I feel like I would, if I was that dehydrated, I'd probably consider it. Maybe. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
Dead silence follows my words.
No, I was thinking about the fact the more dehydrated you are, the harder it is to drink your own piss.
Yeah.
because
It
there's
would be a bad
less, more
idea.
cotton piss
So
coming
really,
out.
like, you should be like from the first 5 minutes drinking
the
your own
guy
piss.
doing it for the first 5 minutes is actually
For the joy. Yeah.
I feel like you would do that when you'd like drink your first piss and then just immediately find so much water and be like, I can't believe I did that.
This is
And also
really
that's
funny
TV.
for me.
I believe I've seen this.
Also, how would you go about doing it? I guess she's got a water bottle, but you don't. You just kind of have to be like frantically cupping.
And like iodining? I don't know. Would that even be worth it? What would the iodine do in that situation?
This goes to
Oh God, I can't even remember what we're talking about.
she's in the water, she's iodine some water, she makes her, she's also smart enough to sip it slowly because she understands that if she drinks too fast it will make her sick.
That's
she's
very
a smart
clever.
gal, you got to give her that. And she's also watched enough games, and there is an advantage in growing up watching the game.
Yeah.
She goes to sleep and then she wakes
So she's basically like drifts off thinking about what a lovely day she's gonna have. She's like, I'm gonna recover, I can stock up on food, do some hunting, get loads of water, like really recovering, get hydrated, drifts off, wakes up, fire!
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tribute Nayana in the corner is like, piss?
She was
Honestly,
so full of
maybe she should have pissed on the fire.
Just a
You don't know,
massive
it might
save
work.
up, drink loads of water and
Yeah.
just gone. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So there is like a stampede of feet, and then it's described as a wall of fire descending on her. And right now I feel really fucking vindicated when I said I wouldn't want to strap myself into the tree because I was like, you can't get away quickly. And now she's like, oh, she can't get away quickly. She's strapped to the tree. And I'm like, vindication.
Absolutely.
So
Horrifying.
we enter chapter 13 with her strapped to the tree as
Oh
the
my
wall
God,
of
I
fire
know.
descends. So she's trying to like unbuckle and she falls down and she manages to throw the sleeping bag over her own shoulder and start running. And she realizes immediately this is not normal fire. This is a game maker creation. And we get this bit of narration where she essentially says game makers could go in and do random things like create walls of fire. And normally what it's trying to do is push tributes together, because if there hasn't been any deaths the previous day, people are bored and people are too spread out and you've got to push them together. Makes sense from a TV perspective. But she internally thinks about the fact that the game makers at any point could just kill a tribute. They could do that
Yeah.
with the fire or the mutts, but they don't. They might do one a year just to show they can. And I was making these notes at the exact same time I was prepping for Sunrise on the Reaping special, and it made me think about my complaint about the games in Sunrise and the Reaping and the fact that so many people die from the hands of the game makers, die from mutts, whereas Katniss explicitly says here that they might do one a year. And I was just kind of like that was one of my problems with Sunrise on the Reaping, is how many of them die via game maker hands.
Yeah.
She luckily has everything like in the bottom of her sleeping bag, so she basically just grabs her sleeping bag and runs. And I find this so funny. Like, I just really have a mental image of her like running with this big sack, and it's like she's some kind of like deranged Santa Claus.
It's also just really weird, like, you know, when there's a fire alarm in work or whatever, and they're like, you have to just leave, don't take anything with you, just go. And I know this is different, it is the Hunger Games, but like, this is the
not
kind
your
of
office.
it is not your office, but this is the kind of rule that like workplace fire safety would have a fucking field day with. They would be like, what are you doing? Just go. You're more important than this. Get out of here. Go. And admittedly,
Get out of here.
Yeah, like work is not like actively trying to kill you,
Well.
even if it is passively trying to kill you. So but it is really funny, and it's also like, of course, she has it all packed up, ready to go. I would just be like scrambling and like grabbing my. I mean, again, I would be dead by now, like 100 times over. But in the unlikely circumstance I was alive, this would not be me.
100%. She decides to try and loop back around to
This is
like
ever
and
had.
I just like
And she's not a dumb person.
I just don't understand it as well. I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about woods or fire, but I don't understand how you're like
think
doubling
that's-
back around
yeah.
and going past the fire to get back to the lake. Doesn't make any sense to me, but sure.
I think she's thinking because it's game maker fire, it will be moving in a line. Like, I
Yeah.
assume that's what she's trying to think. But at this point, when she thinks that, she has already vomited from smoke inhalation. I'm like,
Yes.
That
don't
bit is
double back
actually
around.
really interesting to me, where she talks about, okay, again, I've talked about shit, piss, and vomiting now, but
Great.
like
All the
vomiting,
great.
and she loses her mucus supply, and she's just like retching, and I'm like, this is bad TV, you know?
Yeah.
I think actually, like, I don't know, to watch someone throw up on camera like that is basically not fun from a audience perspective. And I think, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, I guess they're kind of hoping that she'll get burnt or whatever, but it really makes you realize how bad a lot of the kind of general stuff you're watching on the Hunger Games would be from, you know, like.
But that's also us, I guess. For the Capitol, they're like, maybe they do enjoy this really fucked up stuff.
No wonder they enjoyed a love story so much, based on the fact that they love watching people piss, shit, and vomit most years. It'd be so nice to be like, oh my god, we're getting a story.
So nice to get some semen for once.
It's like, wow, we've had every other bodily fluid.
So just as she kind of makes that plan, all of a sudden fireballs start being thrown at her. It really is just like she can't rest for a second. Like there is no break. So she starts running. She's propelled by the knowledge from watching the games that certain segments have different attacks. So she goes far enough, she can escape this one. And I think this is really interesting. Like, one, I'm like, I do wonder if like everyone thinks this way or if it's a Katniss thing. Like, does the average tribute think about the previous games and make this kind of observation, or is it something about Katniss that when she was like watching, she was kind of taking notes on these kind of things, even though she never knew that she would get chosen, that she'd volunteer?
I always think, I mean, there's a bit in it where it says no time to judge if a movie is the correct one when there's a hiss, I act or die, and there's a real like video game quality to this interaction. I think of this because I've been watching The Last of Us, which is a TV show which is like based on the like a video game, and sometimes when you watch The Last of Us you are like, oh, this bit feels so video game, like dodge this to get into this place. And you can really sense it in the way they've directed it because it's the same creators for the show and the game, but also in this bit you're like, you can actually see the entertainment quality in it. Like obviously it's dark and twisted, but you can see the kind of POV of like, you're a person in the Hunger Games, dodge, jump, like
at the end of the day, like the Hunger Games films these parts are entertaining. So whilst yes, it's different if you were watching it and it was real people and it was really happening, you can see how it's entertaining, even though like it wouldn't be because
they're real
was
people.
Real.
But, like you're distance enough that you don't, and like the kind of dodging, ducking, like you'd be screaming at the TV being like, get under, like hide behind the rock, whatever. Like, you can imagine that happening.
100%. About 15 centimeters, very specific, of her braid gets burnt off, and it distracts her so much. Love this Slay Queen, that she gets burnt on her left calf. As like surprisingly stupid moment for Katniss of trying to put it out with her hands, so then her hands get fucking burnt.
Gotta say the braid thing, I didn't realize how much of the braid it was, and I kind of get her is like,
it's a lot.
It's quite a lot. Like I do have this moment of distraction from her because also I kind of didn't realize how much of her braid she lost when she is very like iconically known for her braid.
Yes.
Obviously
Also,
the film do that.
she'll have lost her hair tie. What's she gonna do now?
Yeah, having her hair so irritating.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, she's gonna make one out of like twine something. It's Katniss.
No, secretly sends her
She'll
like hair tie.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know. She'll like weave a basket of leaves.
A rabbit.
Or a rabbit. Yeah, exactly. It's Katniss.
So then she thinks to herself, Katniss, the girl who was on fire. She thinks about Cinna and she's like, obviously he didn't know and it wasn't his fault, but also if he had just sent us out there naked as coal, like I would probably be safer.
This bit is really interesting to me because obviously like there is a cruelty to like choosing Katniss to be this, you know, like the face of this rebellion, and they must have known that she would be punished in the like, even not in this way, in some way, like she would be targeted for this reason, either by the careers or by the Capitol, and it's a price they're willing to pay because they waited so long for this to happen.
Yeah.
But you realize in this moment, like Katniss doesn't blame Cinna, but she would be justified to blame Cinna because this is a real cruel moment, I think.
Yeah.
Of like, she's being targeted in a very specific way because of what she did, and it's because of the statement that like actually Cinna and Haymitch, etc., chose for her.
Yeah.
It's very brutal.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of thing, it feels like if she had thought about it, it could even have been predicted.
Yeah.
Like, of course, if you make fire your big thing, they are going to set you on a fire.
Yeah.
Which is so incredibly fucked.
Yeah.
The fact that it's like almost predictable in that way.
And I think it's extra cruel because she says in the next page that like she hates burns and that it's her...
Yeah.
It's like the most painful thing to her, even like, you know, and I think she hates it because she's sort of immediately vulnerable. Like there's nothing she can do to make it better in that moment. Like you just have to stand and like have your hand under cold water for a long time.
Yeah. I think it's also like the visual gore for her. There's the immediate pain, but she's also very repulsed. She can't look at it. It's like this visual thing of her own charred skin starts to freak her out.
Yeah.
We get this nice hint that Prim is into healing, which I think is our first mention of this. She's thinking about a boy from the mines who was brought in with burns, and the fact that she had to run away and go hunt because she hates burns. But Prim, who is scared of her own shadow, stayed with her mother and helped the burnt man. And this will develop into like Prim's ultimate plotline, which is becoming a healer. So it's a nice first instance of that.
This is, again, my Slumdog Millionaire theory. The fact that Katniss's mum was a healer, so Katniss has basic knowledge about healing and what to do in this situation. You know, how to assess how bad the burn is, whether it can be soaked or not. It really is just all of these little things that add up to make her have the perfect life experience to succeed in the Hunger Games.
It's also like quite interesting because there are districts which are completely urban. I think some of the middle districts are meant to be completely urban and they don't have any access to like any kind of like, I mean, I'm sure you talked about this, like the idea that they don't have access to like hunting or like the physical activities that Katniss does. But even like pools of water are just like quite alien to them.
Yeah.
So even if they did get a burn in their home, they wouldn't necessarily associate them with like going to a pond or anything like that. And so like, I know the District 12 is at a massive disadvantage in loads of ways, but in some ways, I think the biggest disadvantage is held by the inner districts that are just like cities that have like, you can't hunt, you can't swim, you can't like get out there into the wild, you can't like, you don't have like the physical build to do these things, you don't have trees. I think those are the districts that are actually like the most disadvantaged, basically.
The electricity district, unless they come up with something smart, there's not much
yeah
and
obviously like after BT won his games, they're gonna make sure that never happens again. So honestly, you're not gonna have a lot of opportunity, right? Yeah.
So she suddenly has absolutely no problem finding water. She finds another pool and soaks her
about
injuries.
A Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, but she eats some roots from the water plants for dinner, drinks some water, and then dozes off thinking, let them find me. Like, fuck it, let them find me.
Yeah.
And then it's just, moments like these are so well written because then it's like, and then they do, or whatever. I can't remember the exact.
Yeah.
And it's so good, like, because this feels fucking relentless. Reading it, it really is one thing after another. Like, she's dying of thirst, and then she finds water, and then there's fire, and then there's fireballs, and now then she finds water again. Oh, and now there's like, it literally, to the point where it starts to feel almost implausible what her body goes through.
Oh my gosh,
like
I
a
know.
Small...
It's genuinely like, oh shit, here we go again.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no.
But
I wonder, she's almost like, do you know what, if they find me and I die, it's okay, because your body would be like, I'm exhausted, leave me alone.
Yeah,
I would have been
100%. It's such a brutal read. Like, it's just fucking relentless.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Where it says that so like half of her jacket is like cut off, so it's just till the ribs, but the hood's intact, and she says it's far better than nothing. And I think genuinely talking about District 12's slight advantages, that mentality of like, save the things that you get, don't throw things away, that mentality probably serves District 12 really well.
Yeah.
Because there would have been like District 1 or 2 like careers who would have said, get rid of it, it's useless now, because they're used to having enough. You know, they're not rich, but they're used to having stuff. They're used to being like, if it's torn or dirty or whatever, get rid of it. And Katniss isn't like that. She's not been raised in that way. She doesn't. So she saves things and she keeps things, even if they're broken or dirty, because she doesn't have a choice. And honestly, like, I know Katniss, I know it's because they're malnourished and they don't get enough food and stuff, but there are certain like attributes that make District 12 quite a good place for a victor to come from, because she's like thrifty, you know?
Yeah.
And also used to a natural environment in a way that some districts are never used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you go. I was just gonna say, she hears the careers and starts running, but thinks, I can't outrun them, but I can. Do you know what I am? Small. So I can climb a tree. So she starts to climb, and they find her immediately. They can hear her. So she made the right choice. She never could have outrun them. They're all around the base. And we have this moment where she's like, well, I'll play it for the cameras. Hello, how are you? And they're like, oh, I'm great, thanks. How are you? And I'm just like, it's weirdly funny in the moment. I actually found myself laughing.
I'm 50 to 60 pounds less than the smallest. By the way, like, as in, no matter how skinny they are, I am the skinniest. That is my prize. I am the skinniest girl.
Yeah. They have some really good banter. She says it's too warm for her. And then she's like, oh, but it's nice up here. Like, why don't you come up?
I know. I have a note that's like, despite everything, she's risking massively, and this does feel quite dumb. Like, I know she's like betting on the fact that she can climb a tree further than they can, but like, this is a big bet to take. You know,
they're gonna climb it anyway. She may as well be funny in the moment.
Yeah.
I guess.
But like, I don't know. Like, then like, Emma shoots an arrow. I don't want to get ahead of it, and she shoots it really badly. But what if she didn't? Like, what if for some reason, like, I don't know.
I guess she's got literally no other choice.
Yeah, but
like, she can't outrun them, so.
But she could climb up and just not really bait them.
They're gonna chase her.
I guess. I do think her baiting them kind of, but maybe
it's at least great TV.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Peter won't meet her eye. Kato tries to climb and he falls, and then so does Glimmer, and then she tries to use the bow and she's fucking shit. And Katniss steals the arrow and tries to like wave it off, like she's just being a dick, so that they don't. Because I like forget at this point they still don't know about her skills with the bow, right?
No, they don't.
Which is really crazy.
Yeah, because Peter's like has refused to tell them.
Yeah. It's her bow, which I really like. She's like, the game makers put that in there for me. The game maker's the only one that, no, I can shoot a bow apart from Peter. That is my bow. And she gets this like irrational anger at Glimmer, which will be important in the next chapter for what she has to do to get hold of those.
Which is really,
but she calls it my bow over and over again. And I think that's very key for what she has to
It
end
also
up
says she
doing.
goes another 30 feet in the air. And I'm like, by this point, she's canonically 50 feet in the air, which I think, what the fuck?
Edward Cullen.
No, but
like,
like,
where he climbs the tree with Bella on his back.
I know I said that I just didn't understand trees, and like, it's clear that I don't understand height as well as trees, and I would 50 feet in the air. I just want 50 feet in the air.
I think we can assume they're not like English trees.
But like, no matter what tree, like, what the fuck? Like, what is she doing? Like,
It's even higher.
Yeah.
Okay, the physics I don't understand. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead to the next chapter, but I may as well talking about physics and trees. What do you mean Rue can jump from tree to tree? She is not a spider monkey. She is a human being.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever's going on in the districts, they're just like, they need to, I don't know, have longer school hours or something. But,
Maybe Rue got bit by a spider.
Honestly.
Oh my god.
Honestly, maybe I need to see the tree and see, I'm sure someone on this earth can do it. Like, I'm sure they are. But what I'm imagining when they describe it is when Tarzan jumps from tree to tree, the cartoon, because I don't understand what else Rue is doing.
Yeah.
Or like, genuinely, like, there's flying squirrels, basically. And then it goes, the names the people in District 1 give their children are so ridiculous, and I think not just District 1.
Well, all
Katniss.
districts.
Oh my god.
You're named after a root.
Someone
named after a potato.
And Peter is named after bread. Yeah.
We got a comment defending, because we'd slagged off Suzanne's naming, and they defended the naming by explaining a load of them. Like, thank you for the comment, by the way. That was our point. They explained the names to us, like, oh no, this person's named this because of this in the district.
No.
We're like,
I get that. No.
We hate it.
I get that. I don't
It's
need it.
So bad. There's a person it's like a throwaway line in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Someone is called Hilarious, which is just like really bad. Like,
you know what? I don't mind it too much when it's the capital, because I think it makes sense for the capital to have these audacious, ridiculous, it's like celebrity baby names. But when it's the fucking districts and they're all like, if it's the tree district, they're all tree names, I'm like, no, come on.
no.
I know that it's meant to be like 1,000 years in the future, whatever. Or
Not even 1,000, yeah.
But like, I'm sorry, where have the normal names gone? It hasn't been that many
Where are the
generations.
Bens?
What happened to Ben and Sarah? Like, where did they go? Like,
Absolutely. It's like, people are just like, say what you see. Say what you see. Cloud is a name. Like, tree is a name. You know?
Fish is a name now.
Everyone is lost for some reason.
That's
like,
a wire, because she's going to work with wires.
Yes,
I mean, to be
that's
fair,
so bad.
I did once babysit a kid whose dad was an electrician and his name was John Circuit. So, like, I am not one to talk.
That kid is going to be...
brilliant.
That kid's Hunger Games material.
Honestly.
If you had to name your child something related to your job, what would it be?
No, sorry. The kid wasn't named John Circuit. The man...
Oh!
The man himself was an electrician.
Wow.
And the man's job... The man was an electrician.
That's
the man
a real
was called
Hannibal
John Circuit.
Lecter situation.
Honestly, I was like... I met him and I was like, are you doing a
Wow.
bit?
There's like how
Be a tree surgeon, like very obviously. Thank you. I am
oh
Twigg.
yeah, I would be a fucking nurse, wouldn't I?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well mine, I don't know what I would be, just like an immigrant, I guess. Like, I don't know, a token like foreign exchange or something.
Oh my god.
I just don't know what other trope would I fit into.
I don't know, what does Prakash mean?
Prakash light in Sanskrit.
Okay.
But like, I think if it was a TV show, like an American TV show, I would be like a foreign exchange student who like has a really strong Indian accent and like is bullied. I don't know. If it was Glee, I think that was what my character would be. And maybe I'd sing a song about fitting in.
I mean, I don't think we should compare real life to Glee. I think that's a
No, but
dangerous
Glee-
life.
No, I think we always
Yeah,
should.
yeah. I'm trying to think actually what song I would sing if I... There's a bit in Glee where like there's a Filipino exchange student who Rachel bullies so much that she ends up in like a crack den or something.
Iconic.
And they sing Telephone together in a bathroom.
Yes.
I remember that. That'd be me. I would be that student in the crack den, I think.
I wonder what Glee did to my brain, because like I watched one of those
Telephone.
like recapping the things you don't remember about Glee in the background the other day, and there were things that brought up like where I was like, am I okay watching this? Like, this is not normal.
I was like, no, this is fine. This is probably what happens to like foreign students in America. Maybe it does. Who are we to say?
Definitely. Night falls, and we have like, I'm gushing about the writing in this so much. I just love this minute because we have like a few different call outs to different animals. We have like a skunk going past, and I can't remember any of the other animals, but there are more animals
an
mentioned.
owl.
There's a possum mentioned. I don't know
But
why
no,
I remember. I
there's
just like
not.
pop, but it's
There is,
Roo!
but there's not. And yeah, I love it
Yes.
because it like sets the scene for being like, here's an animal, there's an animal, and then there was eyes looking at her in another tree. Was it a possum? No, it wasn't a possum. It was Roo. Mic drop. Boom. So good.
Oh my god, I know. She talks about the glassy reflection. Like, it's kind of weird that she confuses Roo with a possum, to be
I
honest.
literally
Yeah.
and like I started to do it, and then I don't know why I didn't, but I'm now gonna Google possum.
They're actually quite
Look at their eyes.
distinctly weird looking.
Yeah,
maybe Roo.
I know
Let's
what
not
I know
judge.
what they look like, but like,
I would be-
okay, no, sorry, you would not confuse those eyes.
With a human.
Like,
me.
there's no way.
I would be... Oh no.
Like, poor
They're
Roo.
cute. They're cute in a way.
What does Roo look
I would
like?
I would be hurt if someone was like, "Oh, I thought you were a possum," and I would be like, "Oh, okay."
That feels weird.
That feels targeted.
Thank
I don't know.
you.
Is
Yeah.
that like what?
But yeah, so Roo's in the tree, and Roo points over her head. Dun dun dun. We're gonna leave it on that cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's a good cliffhanger.
I know. I feel like I did talk a lot about like taking a shit. I don't know. I think that's actually my
Well,
contribution.
the good thing is you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I do remember.
I was about to
Yeah.
say, I thought we had a shot to shoot. No, we don't. The person dies in the next chapter, so no,
yeah,
we don't.
I know.
Yay.
There's a girl who dies, but we don't really know her name or anything about her, to be honest. Apart from Peter has killed her in some way.
That's not a major death
Not a major death.
character. I was about to say that was a good cliffhanger to end on, and then I realized this is a YA book that uses the brilliant but very YA of every chapter ending in some sort of cliffhanger. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, oh, the last one ended with the wall of fire. The next one ends with like her collapsing
There's
from the
also
stings.
just a lot of cliffhangers to happen.
No, there are, yeah.
Yeah, especially when they're in the games. Like,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
everything is kind of dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Suzanne is very good at pacing each chapter to have this big moment at the end. And it actually feels, it doesn't feel like, oh, and it wasn't real. Like when you get to the next chapter, you're like, oh, that's really...
Yeah, absolutely. She's writing in this very pacey. And like there is always something more exciting around the corner as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what she does now is exciting. And she also discovers that Rue is an ally, which we always kind of knew, but is also exciting in its
Yeah.
way. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you
Yeah,
so much for
have you got
having
anything
me.
you
Where
Where
plug,
can
want to say?
people
Where can
find
find
you?
people
Well,
discover you?
People can find me on LinkedIn.
Oh no!
Sorry, that was really,
Why
really
would you do
disturbing
that?
to say that straight away. Don't do that.
Don't
You
do
can if you
that.
want to, but do that. I'm at Nayana Tara Prakash on Instagram, and I'm also I think that is the best way to find me. I'm on Blue Sky. Anyone else on Blue Sky? Nayana Tara Prakash, bluesky.social, whatever.
We will link her down below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Do
writing.
you want your LinkedIn link?
Don't do that. It's really boring because it's always me being like, I'm delighted to announce, so pleased to announce that, and it's stuff I'm not pleased to announce. So yeah, don't it's a lie. I'm not pleased to announce. But I am writing a book which is not related in any way to the Hunger Games, but is a non-fiction book.
Do people shit in it?
I guess off page they do. Like I guess off page is
like
always
implied shitting.
Yeah. Off page there's always implied shitting. shitting, right? Like
Yeah.
everyone is always like.
Everyone is always shitting.
I guess-
Are you shitting right now?
Yeah,
On the
yeah.
Charlie's lovely sofa, are you shitting right now?
It's implied shitting. Yeah. I think every time you watch a TV show or a film or like read a book, like, you know, off page or off screen, implied shitting is kind of what you have to get around to. But I would love if you follow me. It's nothing to do with the shitting or the Hunger Games or having diarrhea or like, you know, any of those things. Or actually
What
anything.
is it about?
Yes.
So it's about India's relationship with technology and my relationship with technology in the past and present and future, which is what I did my PhD about, which, like, having listened to this episode, you may be a little bit like surprised to know that I have a PhD. But that's fair enough. And again, that has nothing to do with diarrhea or shitting or anything like that. But you should still follow me. And eventually when it comes out, I would love it if you could read it and buy it, etc. And that's a long way in the future. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming.
What Taylor Swift song? I said Mastermind for the first one, which is the most like, you know, I'm only cryptic and Machiavellian because I care.
Yeah.
Is there anything to do with fire in like any Taylor Swift songs?
Let me go into my mind.
Go into your mind palace. Go into your mind palace. I do still think The Great War is a good overall kind of thing.
But she must mention fire. Like, I
Maybe-
simply don't believe she doesn't mention fire.
I know. I was thinking maybe Out of the Woods. Like,
Yeah,
are we
that's
out
good.
of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet?
That we will never be out the woods in this
Are
book.
we out of the woods? And actually, the answer is no. We're not out of the woods.
Really not.
We're not out of the woods. It's a great song.
All I'm stuck on is if a Taylor Swift song mentions fire, and it's going to irritate me because one absolutely must mention fire.
Yeah, it's really weird actually. There isn't one called like Fireball, whatever.
Well,
or like
because Pitbull is truly owning that. Pitbull left his mark with Fireball, and everyone is too scared to come and try to.
and
compete
Taylor
with
didn't
him.
want to trample over the
I
the alcohol
googled it.
brand.
Good.
Yeah.
My tears ricochet, and if I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too.
Of Ashes. I do think My Tears Ricochet was one that I considered. Anyone?
Mad Woman, My Cannons, All Firing on Your Yacht.
Mad
Okay.
Woman is quite Katniss. I do feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's some Katniss there.
Not a lot.
No, not a lot.
No,
Surprising.
Yeah.
there's I don't know. There's more.
There's fireworks. I'm shining like fireworks over your sad empty town.
I was like, baby, you're a firework.
There is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
scrolling. Yeah, there's like
Signs.
Oh.
Or
There's,
blue eyes.
for some reason, someone's done an entire Tumblr post. on
What
this.
do you mean for some reason? That is the purpose of Tumblr.
Taylor
It's Nayana.
yeah, exactly. I made the fan cam.
In Taylor Swift, there's Invisible. In Fearless, there's None. In Speak Now, there's Sparks Fly, Dear John, Mean Innocent, and Electric Touch. In Red, there's State of Grace. In 1989, there's Bad Blood. In Reputation, there's Call It What You Want. In Lover, there's The Archer. In Folklore, there's My Tears Ricochet, Mad Woman, Peace, and Hoax. Evermore, Ivy, and Evermore. Midnights, You're on Your Own Kid. Sweet Nothing, The Great War, Karma. Torture Poets Departments, Love My Life, The Black Dog, The Albatross.
What did in the Black Dog?
It's
My-
al-
He wants to set fire to all her old clothes.
It's also in Christmas Tree Farm.
That's a fire side. I don't think I'm going to count a fire side.
That
So-
counts massively. That's the most Katniss song there is.
So when
actually.
you couldn't think of any songs mentioning fire, how do you feel now?
What is it in Love of My Life?
Let me look.
Our
Our Field of Dreams engulfed in
Yeah.
fire. Yeah. Your arson's match. Yeah. That's not really very relatable to this, is it? It's mostly a metaphor, and in this book, it's very much not a metaphor. She literally, it does catch fire.
Yeah.
We'll think about that one. If you
Yeah.
have any Taylor song,
But yeah,
can be
it's
the
in the
comment.
Great War, but Diesel is your desire. You were playing with fire, so
and as I always say, that is, I mean, Taylor read the books and she was like, damn, I need to
Damn.
make a song about this.
Yeah.
I'm always saying that. And if you want to make a fan cam, I will watch it. And even if you don't send it to me, I'll probably end up seeing it anyway, because that's basically all my TikTok is.
Ivy works quite well. So yeah, it's
I-
a fire. It's your
yeah,
goddamn blaze in the
the
dark,
night,
and you
started
it.
it.
Started it.
Very good.
Yeah.
I do like that. I do feel like the rest of the song is a bit too romantic for like being chick flicks, but that's okay. I will accept it. Anyway,
Leave your comment down below on the Taylor song that represents different elements of the Hunger Games the best.
yeah.
We're truly in great form here. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast by Goblet of Wine Productions.
If you'd like to follow us around the internet, you can find our social media links in the description.
Or Or if you'd like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon, where you'll get access to bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content.
Thanks so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!
Nice.